Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making challah dough as done by Zahav, the restaurant in Philadelphia. It's a phenomenal recipe. It is really, really easy. Now let me just explain one thing. Between the time that you prepare the dough and then you go to braid it can take between an hour and 2 hours to let the dough rise, and that really depends on the warmth and the temperature of your home and of your kitchen. So that being said, let's go. Now the original recipe calls for the dough to make 2 chalot. I am only going to make 1, so I am cutting the recipe in half. Let's get started. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take active dry yeast, and in my case I am using Fleischmann's active dry, and you are going to measure out into a cup. You are going to measure out 1 1/2 teaspoons. So here we go. There's 1 teaspoon and 1/2 teaspoon. And every so often you're going to hear Maggie bark because that's what she does. And Maggie is my absolutely adorable and wonderful cockapoo. All right. You're going to take warm water. It does not have to be boiling, just really kind of warm to the touch. And you're going to measure out 1/2 cup of warm water. Okay, got 1/2 cup of warm water, and you are going to take the warm water and you're going to mix it into the yeast and stir, 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 stir. Don't have to be crazy with it. Just kind of stir it up, stir it up, stir it up, stir it up. And then we're going to put this over to the side and let it sit really for about 5 minutes or so. You want it to be a little foamy on top before you use it. Okie doke. So that is that. And we're going to put that over to the side. That's going to come over here. Next thing we're going to do now, I use a KitchenAid stand mixer. You can also make this in a large bowl and then knead it by hand. If you're going to knead it by hand, you're going to knead the dough for about 10 minutes or so. If you're doing it in the mixer, it takes anywhere between 2 to 3 or 4 minutes. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to take 2 cups of bread flour. I recommend bread flour because that's what the recipe says. And I know that there's some scientific stuff that goes along with bread flour compared to regular white flour. I think it has something to do with the protein and the gluten, but don't quote me on that. In any case, we're using bread flour. So we've got 2 cups of bread flour over here. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to add some sugar, and that is going to be about 1/8 of a cup of sugar. So I've got a 1/4 cup measure here, and we're going to fill it about half. This does not have to be exact. You know, really, the flour should be as exact as possible, but the sugar, we're okay. Next, we're going to add half a teaspoon of kosher salt. So kosher salt, half a teaspoon. In we go. And we are going to just kind of mix this together. Nothing fancy at all. And then we are going to put this entire bowl onto my mixer, which is right over here. So we need to open it up. There we go. That's going to go on. Okie dokie. The next part is actually kind of fun. We are going to take 3 1/2 egg yolks. So, a couple of ways to do that. One way is I'm going to crack the eggs, and we're just sort of going to get the yolks. My yolk fell into the bowl. So what we're going to do is, hands are clean, I promise. I'm going to go in and we're just going to scoop out that one egg yolk. Let's try this again. See if we can make it even better this time. Okay, one egg, and we're going to separate the yolk, great, from the egg white. There's number 2. Here's number 3. Here we go. There we go. All right. And the whites are in one pan. Okay, now for the next part, this is where it gets to be a lot of fun. You're going to take the 4th egg and you are going to do the same thing with the yolk, same thing with the yolk. Get as much of the egg white out as you can. And then I'm going to put it into my bowl, and I am going to scoop out about half of that egg yolk. So we have about 3.5 egg yolks. There we go. That goes next into my mixer. And then what I like to do, because the next step, and where is my, okay, there it is. Bread hook. Gonna put the bread hook, attach it. And I just like to put this in and just very, very gently let it mix up a little bit. You just want things to combine. Nothing really big deal. All right. Next up, we are going to add, let's get that into the bowl. Okay. Next up, we are going to add 3 tablespoons. Now, the recipe calls for canola oil, but according to Jamie Geller, who is truly an amazing, amazing Jewish cook, and if you don't know about Jamie Geller, you really need to go and find her. She prefers olive oil because it has this really pretty floral kind of scent. So we are going to take 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and 1, 2, and 3. Excellent. Olive oil can go to the side. And we're just going to mix that up a little bit, just using a spatula. Just going to get it all kind of mixed in. No need to get fancy. Just kind of mix it up a little bit. All right. And here's where the fun part comes. We are going to go back. If you remember that yeast that we started to let do its thing, we're going back to the yeast. So let's see, we've got the flour, the egg yolks, sugar, kosher salt, oil. Here we have it. Now, if you want to take a quick peek, let me show you. See, that's beginning to foam up a little bit. That's perfectly fine. Going to take all of this. We are going to dump it in with the rest of the ingredients. And we're going to set our mixer, and we're going to get started. And we're just going to let it go. Now, if we were kneading, we would have had all of this in a bowl, and we'd be mixing it together. And eventually you would be able to take it out of the bowl, put it on your counter, and start kneading. Just like this, fold it over, knead, fold it over, knead, fold it over, for about 10 to 12 minutes. If you've got a mixer, we're going to mix it. I like to use the relatively slow speed. I think it just makes it work better. And we're going to let this mix anywhere between 2 and 3 minutes. And what we're going to do is we're going to let it mix until the dough is taken off the sides. So this is just going to do, and we're going to make sure that that's all in there, all getting incorporated. There we go. So we're just going to let it keep going and keep going and keep going, keeping an eye on it, maybe picking it up a tiny smidge. There we go. Okay. And you may notice some flour kind of mixture at the bottom. That will get incorporated. And it's just doing, let me show you what's going on. See what's happening. Oh, true story. When you're using a mix master, make sure it's locked. I discovered that once. I left it unlocked. Ow, what a mess. Boy, it was a disaster. All right, we are almost at go time. So let me get my things off from in front of me so I can show you what's going to go on here. Okay. All right. It is coming out of the mix master. I'm going to remove my dough hook so I can get it out nicely and easily. And here comes the dough. And it is absolutely ready. So I'm just going to put this down on the counter and I'm going to knead it out a little bit. You're not seeing me do this, but that's okay. Just going to knead it out a little bit. And this is where strong arms come in handy. Just kind of to let it do. Just to let it do. And we've got a nice ball. It is a little bit sticky, but it's not wet and it's not dry. Perfect, perfect. Going to take the dough, put it into a bowl. In this case, I am going to use the Mixmaster bowl. We are going to cover this with a towel. Just loosely cover with a towel. And then we are going to let this sit anywhere between 1 hour and 2 hours. I like to put it into my oven. Just make sure you don't turn the oven on like if you're going to do any cooking. Be aware that there's a challah rising in the oven. So just FYI, that's also happened. Or you can put it just somewhere in your home, preferably a room that's got a little bit of warmth to it. Now, let me also tell you something. Depending on when you make the challah, if it's really, really humid, you are going to need extra flour. And if it's really, really, really dry, clearly you're going to need a little bit of extra liquid. So if it's super dry, you can add a little teeny little bit of water, just tiny little bits. And if it's super humid out, go super gently, maybe use a tablespoon or something to add flour, just so that it gets to that really nice kind of consistency. Okay, challah is going to go into my oven, unheated oven, and it's going to sit there for about 2 hours. Next time we see each other, we're going to take the challah out of the bowl and we're going to get to work braiding it. See you later. Have a great day.